Welcome to our Friday night live stream. Today, I have a very special guest. Now, before we get the conversation started, I do want to announce something really exciting. A lot of you guys have been waiting for the updates. Let's talk about the Montana meetup for just a sec here. As you guys can see, it is July 4th to July 5th. It is a 2-day carnivore in-person event. All right, this is not just a Zoom call or a live stream. I want to meet you guys in person, and it's going to be in Bozeman, Montana, July 4th, July 5th. 2 days. You can also choose to just come one of the days, but just go to the URL showing on the screen, sbg.events, for all of the details. I really hope to hang out with you guys in Bozeman, Montana. And all of those faces are going, by the way. So see you guys there. Now, Shannon, welcome to the show. I want you to first open up with introducing yourself and how you stumbled across the carnivore lifestyle.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. Like I mentioned backstage, like I feel like talking to a celebrity. So it's amazing. I have been a dietitian for 18 years. Sometimes I'm very I don't know if I want to say that because, dietitians, there's few of us, Michelle and myself, and there's a few of us that have kind of gone rogue and basically go against the paradigm of conventional treatment because it doesn't work. Okay. If something doesn't work, why do we keep doing it? I did a little bit in organ transplant, about 3.5 years. I worked about 1.5 years in bariatrics. The majority of my career has been in dialysis. So some of the sickest population. I did about 5 years in pharmaceutical sales. And then I'm happy to say the last June of 2024, I stepped away from all of it to run my own virtual metabolic health business, where my passion is to teach everyone about metabolic health, insulin resistance, reversing chronic disease through food. And if I will shout it to my last day on this earth, that chronic disease does not have to be your identity, your diagnoses, and it is reversible. I myself went keto, low carb, and started my intermittent fasting journey in 2018. And so since 2018, I've been on this path, and I dipped my toes in the carnivore water last year, about September. So September is when I embarked on my carnivore journey.
And I would love to hear about that initial experience when you went carnivore in September. How did it go?
Yes. So just to preface, guys, I know many of y'all are carnivore and you're going to shriek when I say this, but I really like vegetables. And do they upset my stomach? Sometimes they do. And I know it. And I just eat them anyway because I like them. But I'm single and no one's around. So sometimes it doesn't matter, right? If I'm going to go in a nice tight dress, I'm not going to eat them because we know what happens. But I went and had blood work done prior to starting anything because I like data. And my whole goal is I have a sugar addiction, and I really wanted to just nip it in the bud, even though it's pretty controlled. But I work with a lot of people that are carnivores, and I am somebody that likes to walk what I talk. And I feel like if I can experience it, then I can explain it and I understand. And so I wanted to do it so that when someone has questions, when I'm counseling someone, I get it. I understand. So my dad raises beef cattle. So I have a freezer full of beef. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Publix here had Kerrygold butter, buy one, get one free. I went and stocked up on 100 sticks of butter. I was ready. I had my eggs and everything, and I went all in, and it wasn't hard. And I am a huge CrossFitter. I exercise like a maniac, and I get up every morning at 5 a.m. and I use some supplements, which we can talk about at some point if you want. It's a chlorogenic acid extract. So I drink this in the morning. I got Michelle on it. So Michelle's drinking it now. And I fast. And so I would fast. I'd go do CrossFit. I'd go lift weights. I'd do my hours of exercise. I'd come home, and I usually don't eat till late in the afternoon. So I would eat But I found that I wasn't eating enough. And so I didn't, people are like, well, give it a few days or a few weeks. You're going to have diarrhea. You're going to feel poor energy. I never had the stomach upset. I never had gas. I never had, I felt great as far as like my body just went right into it. But I use creatine. I use electrolytes. Like I already knew. Okay. I already knew that kind of stuff. But what I didn't prepare for, and you learn, and I'm glad I did it because now I can speak to women about it, is I feel like women do not eat enough fat when they do carnivore. It's
Mhm.
I'm full, I'm satisfied. Well, no, you've still not eating enough fat. And
Yes.
I lost, Bella, 17 pounds in 3 weeks. And I don't like have 17 pounds to lose. And so
Wow.
I was like, it was rough. So I stopped it
Yeah.
in 30 days just because like I can't lose any more weight. So what did I learn? I learned that I was in energy malnutrition. I learned that I was eating, I was not getting enough energy for my expenditure. You know this, you've done
Mhm.
this. You have to eat enough fat, but we are
Yes.
so far removed from that, it's not normal. And
Yes.
it just wasn't something that I failed myself. So people are like, the carnivore, do I have bad? No, it wasn't the carnivore diet. It was me. I failed. But
Mhm.
here's what I learned. Number one, after it happened, I lost my hair. I lost about half of my hair because I messed up my thyroid. So, but I fixed it with iodine. So now what do I do? If somebody's going to start on carnivore, we're going to really talk about the importance of fat. We're going to make sure that that is very clear. We're also going to make sure that people use iodine. It's never talked about, and it's such an underutilized, nutrient that people need to use. It
Yes.
clearly, I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't have to get on thyroid meds. I just added iodine, and my hair loss went from like mega hair loss to like my
Wow.
hair's fine. It was instantaneously. So the body will fix itself if you provide it the proper nutrients. I'm going to give it another shot though, and I'm going to give it a 90-day shot, but I'm going to, reduce the amount of meat just so that I can, or at least eat my fat first. So it
Fantastic.
was an experience, which is, I think that I needed to go through because now I can prevent somebody else, hopefully, from making the same mistake that I did.
And that is exactly why I appreciate you so much, because there are way too many people who criticize the carnivore diet and this amazing lifestyle when they haven't even tried it themselves. So
Right.
I want to bring on the rest of the panel. Todd, welcome. Ooh, let's zoom
Howdy,
out
howdy.
here. Howdy, Todd. And Phil, Dr. Phil Smith, welcome. So let's get into the juicy topics, right? We look forward to having you today because we do want to talk about GLP-1s and answer all of the community's questions on this topic, because I personally have been getting a lot of DMs, emails, comments asking about what my thoughts are on this, because it is getting a lot of attention. So let me pass it off to Phil. What is your top burning question about this topic? Let's get it started.
Well, Shannon, I've heard that one of your areas of interest is naturally increasing your own intrinsic GLP-1
Mm-hmm.
through diet. And I'd really like to hear both your thoughts on that and your strategies.
I love that. I love that question. So one of my mentors and friends, Dr. Ben Bickman, um, we've had multiple conversations. He's studies, part of the original, researchers as far as GLP-1s go. And I'm on his insulin IQ coaching team. And so we get a lot of time in front of him, and I've learned a lot from him. And as we know, our body makes GLP-1. It just makes small amounts. And there's been multiple studies that show you can take obese people and normal weight people and feed them a high carb diet. And the lean people are going to have higher GLP-1 natural production than the obese people. So we see that there's something going on in there, but you can feed them a high fat, high protein diet, and then there's pretty much the same response in GLP-1. We know that protein, we know that fiber increases our own GLP-1. I know we're in a carnivore community, so we don't like fiber, but some people do. And so there's another thing that I have adopted in my life. I mentioned supplements to increase GLP-1. So there is Yerba Mate. Dr. Mindy Peltz talks about it. Dr. Andrew Huberman talks about it. And Ben talks about it a lot. Increases GLP-1 significantly. So I got introduced to this supplement a little over 2 years ago. It's a chlorogenic acid extract. It increases, and Ben has studied it in his lab, 50 to 60% your own GLP-1 production. And so what's beautiful about that is you get the benefits of the food noise shuts off, because that's why people like it. Let's just face it. That's what people want. They want to feel in control of their food, but there's a difference in feeling in control of your food and starving and not eating. And so just because you eat less, if you're still eating crap, you're still bringing in all the inflammatory items, the seed oils, the high fructose corn syrup. So there's a lot, again, I'm just generalizing that, because I know people that say, I don't want to exercise. I don't want to change what I eat. I just want the shot because I'm going to eat less. Well, now you're eating less poison. You're still eating poison. So I use this myself. I have tons of my clients use this. Why? Because it provides a natural boost with zero side effects, and it helps them break up with carbs. It helps them do intermittent fasting without having to inject yourself. And it's just natural. It's natural, right? It's just the concentrate of yerba mate. So fats, proteins, fibers, and mate will increase your own GLP-1 production, and you don't have to do the injection.
I'm curious to know, like, if someone was on a very high fat carnivore diet, like eating similar to me, like lots of butter, fatty beef, unlimited eggs, and they're really eating when they're hungry and they're stopping when they're satiated for enough time, does that alone, just being on a strict carnivore diet, also help with increasing the body's GLP-1s?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
I mean, you're evident. Look at you. I mean, you're very fit and lean, and you eat. That's what people look at me and they're like, oh my God, are you a human garbage disposal? And I'm like, are you going to finish that? Because I'm going to eat it. Like, when you eat the proper food that your body needs, when you provide, I think it's Ted Naiman is the protein leverage hypothesis. People are so deficient in protein and healthy fats. When you eat that, you provide your body with the nutrients, and then we stop when we're full. I tell my clients that are not carnivore, that talk about overeating, I'm like, you've eaten your meal and you still think you're hungry. If I cooked you a big fat steak, would you eat it? No. I'm like, it's not true hunger. So a real healthy carnivore diet teaches you your hunger and satiation. And I'm sure you can speak on that. Like, you actually learn and watch children. You could put the best tasting cookie or cake or whatever in front of a child, and if they're not hungry, they don't want anything to do with it. And as we get older, we move away from listening to our body. We're in constantly food is thrown in our face, and it's the highly addictive, ultra processed junk food, and it's created to make us addicted. So when you cut that out and eat real butter, real protein, you aren't going to overeat. You saw it in my case. You saw it in my case. Like, I underate. It was almost like it was too much. It was too much of a decreased appetite that I couldn't, eat past.
Yes. So it's mostly two things that I see a lot of women who come into the carnivore space struggle with. They're not eating enough fat, and then they're under eating in general, fat or no fat. Yeah. So they're just under eating. So then we struggle with not losing weight. We're stalling. And a lot of people don't realize that you can stall in your weight and not get the weight loss that you need when you are under eating, as backwards as that sounds. Exactly. So for those who are in this live stream watching and engaging in the chat, You guys can also ask questions now. Just drop in your questions, preferably with a triple capital Q. That will really help us identify it and save it. We'll do it in order. So whatever questions you have for Shannon, for Phil, Todd, me, drop it and we'll take care of that. Okay. So Todd, what questions do you have?
All right, so many. One, you were kind of alluding to it, but with that Yerba Mate stuff, can you actually increase too many GLP-1s where it'll make you chronically undereat and possibly hurt your metabolism?
It's an excellent question, because it's very so the synthetic version is like, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Don't quote me. It's like 5,000 times the dose of a normal GLP-1 production in our body. It's synthetic too. It's a mimetic. It's an agonist. So it's acting like the real thing. This is not acting like anything. It's just telling your body. So ferulic acid is included in this. Ferulic acid, I don't know a lot about it. I just know Ben's one of his most recent studies, they were looking at the GLP-1 production. So when our gut microbiome interacts with ferulic acid, which is in chlorogenic, which is in Yerba Mate, it dissolves DPP4. Is that right? I can't think of the name of it. DPP4. Yeah, which is a diabetic drug. When they've made a diabetic drug from that, but it basically dissolves that, and our GLP-1 production goes up. This is very short acting. So what I was getting at is that synthetic lasts about a week, and they do one injection a week. It's very long acting. This comes up and then comes down. So no, you won't. And if you just stop drinking it, it's not like it's in your body.
I gotcha. Okay, well, I guess that's good. I was just curious, how does that stuff have any like artificial sweeteners in it, or does it have caffeine or any of that?
So it has stevia, and I'll tell you why. And mate naturally has caffeine. It has about 70 to 120 milligrams in it. There's no added, but it's got theobromine added. So there is, and I'm extremely caffeine sensitive to the fact it makes me feel anxious and jittery. I drink 2 to 3 of these a day, and it does not affect me at all. And I'm not chugging it. I'm sipping on it. Most people, I even have people with AFib, and they have no problem with consuming this. But the reason it has a sweetener is because mate is so bitter. So that's another way it works is it's bitter qualities. So bitters increases GLP-1 naturally as well. And mate is a bitter. I have spoken to the company, like, can we have it unsweetened? They said, trust me, Shannon, we've tried it. It's so bitter, nobody would drink it. So they use stevia. Now, we're pushing for allulose, if y'all know what allulose is. But because we're available in 60 countries, it becomes a bit of a challenge, because not every country recognizes allulose as, a authorized sweetener, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's interesting, because do you think it's possible to and I know you kind of already said it is, but at what rate is it possible to increase natural GLP-1s just with the carnivore diet rather than having any supplements? Because I'm just curious, because I wonder, before I came to SBG and did the priming, I was having a hard time for a long time with the noise, and the priming is what made all that noise go away. And for the first time in 39 years, I didn't have any food addictions or any addictions, even nicotine, gambling, all things that I had dealt with for a long time, all went away when I got healthy priming. And I'm just wondering if that curbs your appetite or anything to where you might not get free with food, if that's going to keep some habits alive, It's
funny that you say that, because in our group, somebody just asked about alcohol and smoking. And while, this is just a food product. So I obviously can't make any claims or say anything, but we do have, clients say that they have lost their taste for those items. And you will see some of the new data coming out on the synthetic GLP-1s that they are using it for addiction. They are using it for, alcohol, for smoking, for other addictions. And Dr. Bickman talks about it in one of his podcasts, that, and there was a study last year, at the end of last year, that quoted, the increased risk of severe depression, of just losing your interest in things with these drugs. That's one of the problems. I mean, I think most people come off of them themselves in 24 months due to the fact of losing interest in just anything. So it almost numbs you out. So yes, I guess that's how that works. But as far as like natural food, I think it's a two-part thing. I'm not a doctor. Dr. Smith could probably answer more, but I think you have the addiction property, the dopamine response from the sugar, from the carbs. That part is super strong. And I think even if there's no supplements involved, when you remove that and you stop, I mean, look, we see it with people with their phones. We see it with other things. If you remove that and like allow your dopamine receptors to reset, then I think those addictive those foods are created that way to be addictive. And it's just justified because it's food. It's a socially accepted addiction. And so you have that. But then when you eat, fat is so satiating that I think just fat, and then with the increase of GLP-1, I think it's almost, I don't think you can overeat it. I just don't think that you can. And then if you're in ketosis and you're burning, you're going to waste, you're going to, waste that extra energy. And then there's such a high, thermic effect of food from the protein that it's just, as Dr. Berry says, proper human nutrition, right? Like you just can't mess it up.
Well, what I know for sure is that I was carnivore for 9.5 months. I was under eating, lost a lot of weight, but I tanked my metabolism. And when I came to SBG, over the next 6.5 months of priming is when everything healed. And when I was doing that priming, that's when my body told me that I was no longer going to chew Copenhagen long cut that I'd chewed for 26 years. And I lost the taste for it. And I was chewing 2 cans a day. I was going to sleep with a Copenhagen in my lip when I was sleeping because I couldn't sleep without it. And something healed through getting my body nourished and my hormones balanced that wasn't necessarily staying away from the dopamine hits, because I'd kind of done that for 9.5 months. It was something unique in getting nourished and healing through the priming process, because I was eating 7.5 pounds of meat a day for about 6 months with the fat, and things healed dramatically. So I'm just curious what that did to play a part, but Phil probably knows way better. All right, that was all I had. Phil, what do you got?
Well, Todd, just in response to your question, I believe that most Americans walk around with fatty deficiencies, and their brain needs essential fats. And it's what makes up most of our nerve cells, our cellular walls. It's an important substrate for the brain. And we see so many myelinated diseases and diseases affecting neurotransmitters, from depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, on and Parkinson's. All these are basically different manifestations of starving our bodies of essential nutrition. And as you feed yourself and get your fatty acids restored, it seems like the brain naturally wants that and heals and gives that comfort. And the fact that fat is so satiating, to me, is kind of intelligent design, that fat's good for you, because it's exactly what makes you feel the best. So I think the human body is incredible how it's designed, and we just need to pay attention to it.
I think it's interesting. I think if we renamed fat energy, like we said, what energy are you going to eat today? It could really re-change people's viewpoint. People are, and women in general, are so afraid of fat. Like, just terrified of it. And it's years of malnutrition. And so I think, if we could like rename it energy, you've got protein, you've got carbs, and you've got energy. I think people would be less afraid. But Todd, I think part of and I could be wrong, I've not smoked or dipped, thank God. But I know women that do, Phil. Okay. But I think that part of that too is just habit. And when you clean up your life, you probably started to go into bed earlier. You probably turned off the blue light earlier. It's more than the food. It starts with the food, but it's more than that. It's your sleep. It's your water. It's your life.
Yeah. And I understand that, but honestly, I don't think that's it. Because it was too far spread. Like, I had a gambling addiction that was about as bad as it gets for 15 years. And I hadn't gambled in 4 years, but that monkey was still on my back, and it melted away. I had a soda and nicotine addiction that was worse than all the other addictions, and that went away. And it was literally something that happened when I was nourishing the body, as my eyebrows had fallen off because of hypothyroid, whatever crap. Though, as those were growing back and the hair on my head was growing back, and my eyesight improved and my health improved and my oxygen improved, I had a million things that healed. Well, all that was healing, all the addictive nature, anxiety, depression, it all melted away. It was completely gone. And I had no expectation of that happening, but it did not happen until I got nourished and healed. And that's what was really interesting about that. Because I had, I was 600 pounds when I was 14. I've seen dietitians my entire life. I've been on diets my entire life. I've lost 300 pounds twice in my life before, and 200 pounds twice in my life before. And I've seen psychologists about all this, and all of it was nonsense. When I started healing by eating carnivore and eating the food, it all melted away like it was never there. And that's what's so crazy, is that there was something incredibly healing about the nutrition of fat and meat and doing carnivore. And I have no weaknesses to that, but it happened through something physiologically seemed to have healed in me that was not a pattern or a change. I was about as stubborn as anybody could be. That's how I lost 300 pounds restricting food before, but it wasn't real. It wasn't the answer, but the food was the answer. And so there's something there that I'm really curious about.
And it's interesting you say that, because I worked in gastric bypass about 1.5 years. And so when we would do surgery on, 700 pound individuals, and they were addicted to food, when you make their belly that big, we had people that started cutting. We had people that turned into alcoholics. We had people that turned into shopping addiction, sex addiction. So they traded their addiction. They didn't end it, but their bodies were extremely malnourished. They can't eat fat like that because of dumping syndrome. So it is 100% the nutrient, composition of the fat and protein, I think. And included in that is a GLP-1 increase. You do get that.
Very interesting.
So I want to put up some member questions here. And this one I'll start with. This is honestly how I'm feeling, to be honest, because I am bombarded with comments and DMs bring up GLP-1s all the time. And I think it's just getting a lot of attention. So what is the big deal with GLP-1s, and why does everyone seem to be talking about it right now? What do you think?
I love that question, because I ask myself that every day. For people that are extremely into food and nutrition and exercise, I think our community is asking that question. I think that the push is that it is a solution or an answer to an obesity problem that when people haven't found the answer, they think that there's no other answer. So now drug companies, doctors are saying, hey, we have the solution. You just inject this, and guess what? The fat's going to go away. You're going to quit eating it. But nobody talks about when you stop it, what's next. Nobody talks about the consequences of what's actually going on. We're not eating. That's what's happening, is you just aren't eating. That's not good. You just said you did it. It's not the answer, because what happens when they stop? To me, it's a Band-Aid. It's an easy something that a doctor can prescribe. The companies can make, I won't say they can make money. And it's an easy, like you get a patient in the office, you prescribe it, they're out. You can see 100 a day if you just prescribe that, versus y'all know when we're teaching somebody how to eat properly, that takes some time. That takes some education. That takes some patience. That takes trust. It takes vulnerability. It's easy to I'm just going to inject this and watch it happen. Right.
Right. Well, and it's so bad because if I would have taken one of those drugs before I found Carnivore, all that would have done was possibly enable me to eat the sugar and the crap that I was eating and get away with it for a little longer until it destroyed me. It was Carnivore that healed everything. It was Carnivore, getting the actual nutrients. And so these people that are saying, let's microdose GLP-1s and give them to people that haven't fixed their addictions yet, how is that going to work? Like, it just is going to enable people to stay, they're going to buy into the magic pill or magic shot fallacy, and then it's just going to enable addictive behavior without addressing it and, getting any nourishment. That's crazy to me, how that's going to be a long-term solution.
Well, it's in the realms or the context of obesity, but not every person that's obese, like there's more to the obesity. It's malnutrition. And you spoke clearly of that. Like the injections aren't addressing the root cause. The root cause is insulin resistance and nutrient deficiencies. And if you fix those, it's amazing how the weight just melts off, right? It's not, we're not fixing the problem. We're band-aiding it. We're not addressing malnutrition. It can cause more malnutrition because people are just not going to eat food.
Right. Like my mom right now has Parkinson's. She had gastric bypass surgery like 18 years ago. Now I'm playing hell to get enough food into her without her losing all of her body mass. And she's getting, just wasting away in front of us because she can't eat enough because she doesn't have a stomach, because gastric bypass was the cure. My sister has a lap band, and she ate through the lap band, and she's, that caused all sorts of gastro problems for her, but now she's on Carnivore, and she's lost 72 pounds on Carnivore, way better than the lap band. But it's healing, it's that's healing people. But these shots are the same idea of gastric bypass surgery, which is, hey, let's make it so you don't absorb or any nutrients anymore. Let's make it so you just starve yourself skinny, but that's losing lean tissue. So how is that the answer in the long run? It certainly isn't the answer for mom right now.
No, but companies can't make money off of Carnivore.
Right.
Yeah. And, have enough gray hair that have been around for a long time. I've seen these drugs come and go. Part of that was, first it was amphetamines back in the 70s. We were literally giving people uppers to curb their appetite. And then we had these fen combination, and we found that it damaged people's heart valves, and they had to have valve replacement. And now, and it's the same messaging that went on. Can you believe that when Vicodin came out, it was sold as the non-addicting opioid?
Oh, gosh.
And you can give as much as you want and the people won't get addicted. And now we take a drug that was designed specifically for diabetes management, and it's seen as a panacea because it's very expensive. It's very profitable. I like what Shannon said about it takes that 3-minute office visit and turns it into writing a prescription, and keeps the people coming back. And unfortunately, we've seen some people have gastroparesis, which is a extended or perhaps even permanent, some people, paralysis of your stomach. And then that leads you to chronically not be able to eat, to get nauseous anytime you eat, vomiting, can put you up to obstructions, muscle wasting because you're starving yourself. And it's so much more appropriate to feed your body the nutrients it needs and boost your own GLP-1 than it is to take it artificially.
But, as a dietitian, we're looked at as the experts in food, and there's very few of us out here that are open-minded enough to say, everything we've been taught in school. I mean, I literally would say no one thrives. They're just existing. They're no better than when they first met me than they are now. They come in with their bag of meds. We have a conversation across from each other. They go follow the calories and the protein and the carbs and their macros. They go exercise, and we follow up, and nothing is different. And the fact that people are so stuck and not able to say, okay, what I'm doing is not working. Let's open our mind to other options. People are getting better with carnivore. People are getting better with fasting. Maybe that's not something that we're taught, but why can't we look into that? Why can't we learn about it? And that's what I did. I was not going to accept that the people that I am responsible to get better are not going to get better. And there's just not enough people that will push for it, that talk about it. And let's hope that changes with people like y'all, that your clients can come out and say, you know what, I am winning. I am getting better. And I went against the paradigm.
Yeah, and it's conversations like these that do push us towards that direction and that goal. And so I just wanted to feature this comment right here. Some people I know have resorted to that only because to them it's a quicker solution. And unfortunately, they have now problems with bowel obstruction. I never trust the synthetic drugs. And so I think the purpose of tonight's conversation that I really want to drive home and make clear, especially for new live stream viewers, is when we go carnivore, it's not just a quick fix diet. It's not just a 30-day experiment. It becomes this way of life. And you start realizing that there is no quick fixes or band-aid solutions or cheat codes. And so when I always get asked more and more these days about GLP-1s, I can't wrap my head around in what scenario is that even going to be beneficial? If we think long-term, this is going backwards. Right. So I do want to keep an open mind and try to understand, is there some learning for me to do to try to understand, maybe there are people that could benefit from it. But then I think about the thousands and the tens of thousands of people who have healed and gotten the weight loss that they want, like Todd right now. How can we recommend a drug when we can just go carnivore or animal-based or low carb? Right. So I guess to have this conversation is just one step towards truth.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you see the drugs, I don't think there's a drug, and Dr. Smith can answer better than me. There's always a consequence, Bella. There's always going to be a consequence of some sort when you resort to these drugs. People are going to say, well, maybe not me, but it doesn't mean down the road things that we don't know might pop up. When we know that real food that we have eaten for hundreds of years, we're still here. We wouldn't be here if we didn't eat meat. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if we didn't eat fat. Our brains wouldn't evolve. We know those are safe. And now we're starting to see studies, people like clinical studies. We're starting to see those to prove all of our real life examples. And I'm not saying that drugs have no place. When you're sick, you can take medicine if there's no other means, right? But I think we've become a society that we want it now and we want it easy.
For sure. I love it when people say carnivore just hasn't been studied. I'm I'm pretty sure the human species is the case results of carnivore being studied. I'm pretty sure that's why we're here. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Let me put this one up from RJ. How many drops of iodine do you take, Shannon?
So I use the 2% Lugol's that I just ordered off of Amazon. I personally, again, I'm not a doctor. I can't recommend a specific amount, but I do 7 drops every morning in my water. And I literally feel amazing. And my hair, like I literally could go like this and just gobs would come out. And like there's 1 strand now. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Nice.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, hair loss is a big concern for a lot of women who have been yo-yo dieting their whole entire life, and they carnivore, right? And then the telogen effluvium happens, so the hair loss is delayed. And then they feel like, oh, I just went carnivore, but the hair loss is happening all of a sudden. Am I doing something wrong? And so we have to revisit and think back, well, how long have you been calorie counting? How long have you been punishing your body in the gym, overworking it, right? So I'm glad you're talking about that. Okay, let's keep going. Why do carnivores from C say, why do carnivores need to boost GLP-1 in the first place?
I don't know that you need to. I think it happens naturally.
Yes. So this whole craze, I'm starting to think, is coming from people who are not yet carnivore. They're just simply looking for that little shortcut to get that fast weight loss. I'm telling you guys, you can either have permanent weight loss, eat as much as you want, never have to worry about losing weight and stepping on that scale, getting stressed ever again, if you just focus on eating the right foods and you actually stick to it. I challenge you guys to come to these live streams every week, update us, because after 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 90 days, you will see the benefits of having a carnivore lifestyle in your life. You don't have to look for shortcuts and drugs to help you get to those goals. Okay, so we don't need to boost GLP-1 if we're carnivore. Just enjoy your carnivore diet.
I mean, if you're eating fat and protein, you're going to get a natural boost. Many of the clients that I work with, though, are not carnivore or are like, it's more than weight loss. These things work with lowering blood pressure. They help with glucose reduction. There's a huge anti-inflammatory benefit. And so if you pair that with a carnivore diet, I mean, we know the inflammation comes down. We know all of that happens. Some people just want it faster, I guess.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, how about this one? If someone was chronically under eating for years and is still priming because their adrenal insufficiency doesn't allow them to fast just yet, should they be trying to increase our GLP-1 naturally?
I mean, I think that is a personal, thing. I think that we're going to get the results if we are patient and allow our bodies to heal. And a lot of times, even when I'm helping people reverse their diabetes, for example, and we cut out carbs and they start fasting and they go keto or carnivore, their glucose is still elevated. And they're like, well, how? You've got tons of stored sugar that you've got to burn up. You've got to pull out of your cells. You've got to burn, allow your body to heal. And, if you've been under eating and your body's malnourished and it's been going on for years, it's not going to be a quick fix. You can add a GLP-1 if you're having trouble still controlling your appetite or, but if you eat the proper foods, it's going to happen naturally. You just have to kind of trust the process. And I think that's what's so scary for people is trusting the process. And allowing it to happen. And it can take time. You're trying to undo years of abuse that we've inflicted on our body. I use them because I like the way it makes me feel. Do I think everybody needs it? No, I think it's a personal preference. But I do know for people that struggle with extremely high blood sugars, extremely high blood pressure, it's significant for them.
Got it. Phil, Todd, did you guys want to add to this one?
Well,
I just wanted to add that when someone's trying to get nourished, the last thing they want to do is be worried about GLP-1, which will suppress the appetite. So when you have adrenal insufficiency from chronic undereating, we want you to eat as much as you can until you can retain and redevelop that ghrelin response and actually start experiencing hunger and get the ghrelin normalized before you worry about the leptin side of that equation. Our bodies balance ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger signal, leptin is the satiety signal. And when you're a chronic eater, you have an imbalance of those. And so you would be one that I would want you to just keep eating and don't worry about your GLP-1.
Yeah, Phil said it better than me. I was just going to say, it took 6.5 months on priming for my appetite to, finally be satiated, but that's when I did all the healing. That's what ended up in another 130 pounds of weight loss. So, and then Caleb's got a super chat. I just wanted to put in there.
Hi, Caleb. Thank you. Shannon, why do you take creatine if you're a carnivore?
I love creatine because I think there's more benefits. There's brain benefits. There's, we're seeing cognitive benefits. We're seeing benefits in bone. We're seeing benefits in muscle because it's benign. It's not going to hurt you. It's cheap. It's benign. And it's one of the most well-researched supplements on the market. And, with like back to when I was saying I was under eating, I still think it's very hard for women to eat enough. If you're eating enough fat doing the carnivore properly, the amount of protein might not contain enough creatine. We need a lot of creatine. So I like. I don't necessarily think that everyone needs it. But there is some really promising research on brain and cognitive function, on bone. But it's, again, supplements are just that. They're supplements. They're extra. Or if you're deficient, right? I use it because it's extra and I like the way I feel.
Awesome. Let's do this one. You talk about making sure that you're not under eating. How can one know how much you should be eating? And should you try to push yourself to hit that goal if at all possible?
You want me to answer?
Yes, please.
So like, I'll just take myself for an example. I became very energy deficient, like very quickly because I was satiated to, pretty full quickly and was, going from, not chewing on the fat on my meat, not eating sticks of butter. That was a hard shift that I didn't wrap my head around properly. So that's even though I'm a dietitian, I am not perfect and I am learning, right? We don't get taught this. So it was self-experiment. You will know if you're eating enough, if your weight is stable, if you want it to be stable. If you're continually to lose weight, then you're not eating enough. How do you feel? Is your energy poor? How much should you be eating? Again, I always push. I know everybody's different, but I think that you need to get at least 1 gram of protein per pound of goal weight. That's my personal preference. And as far as carnivore goes, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to say you almost need that same amount of fat. It's almost, I would say, for me, I would probably need close to 1-to-1 ratio to be completely properly nourished. So if
That's
you're
great.
not feeling properly, if you don't feel good, if you're continually losing weight and you don't want to, then you're under eating. If you're losing your hair like I did, you're under eating. If you're fatigued, you're under eating.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not losing weight and I'm stalling, so I must be overeating, right? When they're really under eating. So it really can be confusing. I get it. Like, we have a lot of those types of questions, and we tend to be the group that opens people's eyes to be like, you're low energy and you're not losing weight, eat more. So
Yeah.
we're basically the record here at these Friday Night Lives. And so I'm very happy to hear that, you agree.
And it's like refeeding. You see competitive bodybuilders after they do a show and they cut and they restrict, they should properly refeed their body, right? And it takes a while. I mean, you even see it in the eating disorder population. There's so much, you almost have to do, Todd, and you can probably back this up. You have to overdo it for a minute to basically like recalibrate, right? So I think you should err on the side. If you're worried, eat more.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Because when I came into this priming, into carnivore, I was 715 pounds when I started. I stalled out because I did 9.5 months of OMADs. Stalled out, couldn't lose anything, and I was, I had brain fog, the depression, anxiety was coming back, felt terrible, wasn't sleeping. Went to SBG, did the priming, my appetite opened up, and it wasn't until then that I knew what it was like to have a high functioning metabolism. It took 6.5 months. Mm-hmm. But when my metabolism healed, I now know what it feels like to chronically undereat, because I now know and have a baseline of what a healthy metabolism feels like, which I did not know for 39 years of my life until I did SBG priming and carnivore. That was the ticket for me. So I was just sitting there. Every time I hear a question like this, I'm like, for me, I would have never known until I did priming. And just like you said, priming was overdoing it for a long period of time to push yourself to get your metabolism to raise, to open up your appetite, and to get your stomach to be able to digest and move that kind of food. And then when it did, the healing that came out of it was insane. And now I have baselines to know what I'm supposed to feel like, what my energy is supposed to be like, how I'm supposed to sleep, what strength level I'm supposed to have, and how I'm supposed to feel and have good mental energy. It's a total game changer. It's like being a new person.
Amazing. This one's for you, Todd. How long have you been carnivore? What was your beginning weight? What is your current weight?
With carnivore, almost 28 months now. Beginning weight was 715 pounds. And now I believe I'm at 391.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
It's amazing.
Amazing. Yep. All right. Let's do a couple more and then we will wrap up. Okay. Let's do this one. John, I've been ketovore for over 3 years. I also have gastric sleeve. I lost 60 pounds in the first 6 months, then stalled. My why was type 2 diabetes control without meds, which I did. Any suggestions to break my stall? Phil, why don't you start?
Yeah, well, one of the tough things when you've had a gastric sleeve is you have a reduced stomach volume. And I wanted to address, someone else in the chat had said, should you take GLP-1s? And my answer to that is absolutely not if you have a gastric sleeve, because you already have a markedly reduced stomach and you're going to drive yourself to starvation. So because you're going to chronically undereat. A gastric sleeve is a procedure where they reduce the full diameter of the stomach, the full length of it. So you don't have much stomach left to begin with. When you stall, the issue with gastric sleeves is usually a problem with undereating, as we've been talking about. And I would recommend that you eat 5 or 6 meals a day for about a month and get yourself renourished. You have to eat, when you have a gastric sleeve, you've got to eat smaller volumes more frequently to get the results. And what you want to do is to refeed, get yourself tanked up again nutritionally. So to do that for a month, and if you get extremely hungry during that time and then switch to where you just can't eat another bite, then that's time to go back to doing what you were doing. And a lot of type 2 diabetes who have resolved do fine doing intermittent fasting and eating 2 meals a day in a 6-hour window and fasting, 16 to 17 hours. But if you've done that for a long time and you have a smaller volume of stomach, you tend to burn out with that. You have to refeed maybe once every 3 months or 6 months just to get your metabolism amped up again. So that would be my suggestion, John. And congratulations for controlling your type 2 diabetes without meds, because that's the goal. Cure metabolic dysfunction.
Mhm.
And I'd love to wrap up with this one. Todd, what's your game plan to lose the rest of the weight?
Well, of you know what I've been doing is just stay on carnivore, which is easy now. You know, the whole reason I started a YouTube channel wasn't because I lost 300 pounds. I've lost 300 pounds twice before in my life and knew it was a matter of time before it was coming back, because I know what it's like to white knuckle starvation diet. I've done that for 20 plus years, you know, so that was no different. The reason why I was like, oh, carnivore's for real is because all the noise went away and it was no longer a struggle, you know, and it was working naturally without fighting it, and all the anxiety went away, all the noise and the disordered eating and stuff went away. So yeah, now it's home free. I mean, sure, I'm lifting weights now and doing all these things, not because I needed to lose weight, but because one of the benefits of getting healthy is you get a bunch of energy and you get a bunch of strength back, and it makes you want to go throw heavy things around in the garage, you know, and that's awesome, you know. So carnivore, that's it. There's no GLP-1s. I'm not doing any of the nonsense. It's just carnivore, and that's really the magic to it. Is that's what drives me insane. That's why I get kind of mouthy on here, because that was all it was the whole 26 years that the dietitians were lying to me, and that the doctors were trying to cut my stomach out. And I watched my mom have it and my sister have it, and it didn't work. And it was all bullshit the whole time. All we had to do was eat like our ancestors, and they told me that was going to plug my arteries and kill me. Here's some drugs. Here's 5 or 6 of them. Here's 10 of them. Go home and eat that and die. I mean, it was bullshit. The whole time was bullshit. But anyhow, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And this next 150 pounds is going to come off, and it'll be behind me finally. So.
And it's
Your story.
it's more than the weight. That's what I love hearing. It's more than the weight. It's your mind. It's your life. It's your energy. It's so much more than weight.
I was 600 pounds when I was 14 years old. Since I was 18, I had lung problems. My oxygen saturation since I was 18 years old has been 88% or lower. Then in 2021 at 700, well, I wasn't quite 700 pounds yet. I got COVID, tore up my lungs. I got congestive heart failure. I put on 84 pounds of fluid, which is why I got over 700 pounds. They put me on home oxygen, on 6 liters of home oxygen. And on 6 liters of home oxygen, my oxygen would get up into the 80s. It took 6 months on carnivore to get my oxygen up to 96% off of home oxygen. That was all that it took the whole time. I dumped all my medications, my anxiety, depression, all that went away. I got off the oxygen. Sleep apnea healed up. It all healed up just by eating meat. All the bullshit that they'd been sending me home with and all the medicine was all bullshit for 26 years. That's why I'm so annoyed with it, because it was all a lie. And I'm just an electrician in Montana. So if I can figure that out, then this is not, there's a reason this message isn't out there. There's a reason that they're going after our cattle, our red meat, our saturated fat. They're calling it the enemy, because if we all did this, there'd be no need for drugs and nonsense. I mean, it would just cripple. Yeah. It's incredible.
Thank you, team. Shannon, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you if they wanted to learn more from you?
Awesome. I do have a TikTok account, but guys, please be nice. I'm not an actress. Okay. I am learning at 42 years old. I started 2 years ago, so I'm 44 now, how to act. Okay. So I have a YouTube account. It's SL Davis 6580. I have a small Instagram I'm working on, but I have a big following on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. So and on X. So I'm really on all the platforms. It's SL Davis 6580. Yeah.
Amazing. We'll make sure to link that down below. And Todd, can we put up the Montana meetup one more time and we will wrap up? Thank you very much. Okay, the tickets are up on the site, svg.events. It is July 4th to 5th this year, 2025. Hang out with me, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, Carrie, Dr. Kiltz, Todd, Elle, the entire SBG team. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week. Bye.